KWSN.com. The Kurtiss Riggs Show being brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute. Now, here's your host of the Kurtiss Riggs Show, the voice of the Sioux Falls Storm, Rich Rothstein.
And good afternoon and hi, everybody. I'm Rich Rothstein. Welcome to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. During today's show, we'll be talking to the Storm head coach about the win last Saturday up in Bismarck, North Dakota, over the Bismarck Bucks, 64-31. Then also on the Kurtiss Riggs Show, we're going to have talking to a couple of new players for the Storm, linebacker TJ Neal and running back Kalen Campbell. Then in our final segment with the coach, we'll be talking about next week's bye, along with a little bitty look at the Storm's next opponent, the Iowa Barnstormers. That game is going to be on April 20th here at home at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. Now, starting with that game and for the next 3 games after that, Storm games will be broadcast right here on FM 98.1 AM 1230 Sports Radio KWSN. And so the next 4 ball games will be right here on KWSN. Then the remainder of the season, the Storm games will be broadcast on KELO AM, but that's down the road a little bit. Now, coming up with the Sioux Falls Storm, there's some very interesting and important events that I want to just briefly let you know about. Coming up in April on that April 20th game against Iowa is Faith and Family Night. That's sponsored by Schulte Subaru. And there's going to be a special ticket coming out, so check out the Storm website on that, SiouxFallsStorm.com. Don't forget both S's, Falls and Storm. Then on April 27th is our annual Storm Trooper Kids football camp. And also you need to sign up for that on the Storm website. And then on the April 27th game, that's going to be a hugely important night as far as fundraising is concerned. That's for the Sioux Falls School District, sponsored by Sioux Falls Federal Credit Union, because a lot of the schools that are being benefited by this event are schools that don't have an auxiliary program that raises money for field trips and special book packages and things like that. So this event that the Storm has done for several years is a very important part of that, sponsored by Sioux Falls Federal Credit Union. And for those tickets, that night of hope and caring against Arizona Rattlers, that's 50% of all net proceeds will be donated to the school district and working through the Sioux Falls Federal Credit Union. We'll be talking about that more in the weeks to come. Now, the Kurtiss Riggs Show is proudly presented each week by the official Storm sports medicine providers, Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls, and also by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. Coming up next, we'll be talking to the Storm head coach about games around the IFL, and you're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on FM 98.1 AM 1230 Sports Radio KWSN.
Rich and Sue Rothstein recently decided to downsize, but they
Is it time to sell your equipment? Sell it on AuctionTime.com, the best resource for selling farm equipment, construction equipment, trucks, and trailers. Powered by Tractor House, Machinery Trader, and Truck Paper, Auction Time brings you the largest audience of bidders from across the country and around the world. Get more for your equipment. See our current listings at AuctionTime.com or call 800-334-7443.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rothstein.
And each week, our opening interview with the Storm head coach Kurtiss Riggs is brought to you by the great folks over at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Storm sponsors since day one, Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Come see what fresh really is. Baked fresh, sliced fresh, delivered fresh. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Number 1 in delivery sales for the entire Good Sense franchise system for the past 20 years. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Man, that's good. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Coach, it was a busy week around the IFL. We'll jump right in it and talk about some of the games. And one of the ones that was most interesting, for the second week in a row, these two teams played each other. Quad Cities was at Green Bay, and Green Bay wound up winning that game, their second of those two games, 53-47. Did you have a chance to see anything about that game?
I didn't get to watch any of the game, but I heard it was back and forth and came down to the very end, where Quad Cities had a chance to win and Green Bay was able to pull it out. And I'm sure Quad Cities is trying to figure out what we got to do to get a victory in some of these tight games.
Another game that was interesting as far as score is concerned, Nebraska Danger hosted Tucson Sugar Skulls, and Nebraska Danger wound up winning that game 53-47.
Yeah, and Nebraska and Green Bay, both those teams, sitting with winning records now. And Green Bay, I think you had told me on the bus, they've won more games at this point in the season than they did all of last year.
Yes.
So both of them look like they're kind of pulling away and separating from the rest of the pack as potential playoff teams.
Another game that was really lopsided. We expected that. Phoenix, the Arizona Rattlers defeated San Diego 91-58. That was at Phoenix. No surprises there, were there? No.
I mean, you're going to have to come in and play a pretty flawless football game to win at Arizona. And it's, San Diego's not even close right now physically to be ready to play with Arizona in the trenches right now.
But the game that was the most interesting was at Des Moines. The Iowa Barnstormers hosted the Cedar Rapids River Kings, and that one went down to the wire, 59-48 Iowa, picking up that win. But, Iowa undefeated and Cedar Rapids with only one win on this season. What brought out the best in Cedar Rapids against Iowa in that game?
Yeah, that's a good question. It could be one of those where Iowa just was looking past them, and Cedar was making a lot of plays. Because as I watched just a little bit of the game, it looked just like that Cedar was making plays in tight situations where it could have easily gone the other way, but it worked out for Cedar. And they had the lead when there was not much time left in the game. And then they had the ball when they were down by a touchdown with a chance to, I think, take the lead even. And they had a touchdown called back.
Oh, my.
So, it really did come down to the very end. And then when the touchdown got called back, Iowa was able to get the ball and kick a field goal to pull away by 2 scores. But they definitely put a scare in Iowa.
When you look at a game like that is Cedar Rapids improving, or Iowa isn't as strong as we thought?
Well, I don't think you can ever do that in an indoor game. I think it could easily be just, one team not playing to its potential, and another team playing like it's the United Bowl. I think any week there's games like this where you're really shocked by the score, and then the next week, Iowa could look, amazing. They could look like the undefeated team they've kind of been so far.
And good thing for us, they're playing us in their next game. Or not the next time we have a game, we're playing Iowa.
Right, but they've got another game, which I think helps us because you get to see them for another week and kind of assess and judge. Was that real, or was it just them having a bad game?
Yeah, they'll be playing up at Bismarck next Sunday. So we'll be able to...
I don't know if that'll help us really judge much there.
As far as the standings are concerned right now, Arizona, Iowa, both 5-0, Storm 5-1, Green Bay 4-2, Tucson is 3-2, Nebraska is 3-3, Quad City 2-4, Cedar Rapids 1-5, and winless Bismarck and San Diego. The nice thing about looking at the schedule, Coach, we only have 2 road trips remaining in the regular season.
That is nice. Yeah, that's nice, but we get some tough games, though. We play Iowa, Arizona, then we go to Quad Cities, and then I believe we get Green Bay and Nebraska at home. So, our fans will get some good games at home, and then I think we go to Iowa, and then we end up with San Diego and Bismarck at home.
Yeah.
But, the next 4 home games are against very good teams.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's Iowa, Arizona, then down to Quad City, home with Green Bay and Nebraska before the Storm has their bye after the game on the 18th. Games coming up this week. Nebraska's at Green Bay. Coach, that should be a dandy.
That's good. Those two teams seem to always come right down to the end, too. The first time they played, Green Bay pulled it out, and Nebraska, they had a chance to for sure tie the game, if not win the game, and they kind of panicked and tried to go for a home run touchdown and threw an interception, and Green Bay was able to pull out a tight win.
The other games are going to be on Sunday. Iowa's going to be at Bismarck, like I said. And then Arizona's going to be at Tucson. And then a game that could be very interesting for Cedar Rapids. They'll be traveling out to San Diego to take on the Strike Force. Sioux Falls and Quad Cities both have byes this coming week. But that game for Cedar Rapids could be a healing game for them if they play as they did against Iowa out in San Diego.
Yeah, I think you really don't know. You don't know what you're going to quite get. I think the one thing, the quarterback, though, is getting more comfortable. And, what I watched a little bit of, the quarterback was a little more comfortable. Marquise Wade's a very good receiver. And then they had a little bit of a run game going, too, against Iowa, which will help that quarterback.
Well, Coach, when we come back, we'll talk about the game up in Bismarck against the Bucks, and we'll have some highlights about that, so stay tuned. This segment of the Kurtiss Riggs Show brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. So come see what fresh really is. Baked fresh, sliced fresh, delivered fresh. And they've been the best delivery sales in the franchise system for the past 20 years. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Man, that's good. More of the Kurtiss Riggs Show coming up after we pause for this time out right here on FM 98.1 AM 1230 Sports Radio KWSN.
We all know.
When should you visit Sioux Falls Urgent Care? When that common cold is not so common. When that chicken definitely needed 2 more minutes. Or when you shouldn't have done it yourself. Sioux Falls Urgent Care specializes in medical fixes for life's glitches. We're faster than the ER at a fraction of the cost. So, when you're down from a sofa stage dive, see us. Walk-ins are welcome and most insurance is accepted. Visit Sioux Falls Urgent Care today.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And this segment of the Kurtiss Riggs Show brought to you by Eastway Bowl, the perfect spot for family fun. Eastway Sports Lounge, the official Storm road game viewing party hosts. And the next viewing party is Saturday, May 4th, as the Storm travels to the Quad City in Iowa to take on the Steamwheelers. Kickoff is at 7:05, and he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Storm, Coach, we went up to Bismarck, and the Storm victorious up there, 64-31. But it started out a little bit slow for the Storm, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Well, or fast, I guess, because Bismarck came out and scored, I think, in 2 plays, and then we didn't score our next drive, and it seemed like after that, then the defense came out, got a stop, and we kind of took off from there.
But the thing that I commented after the game the other night when you and I were talking about, in spite of the slow start, you were patient, and there wasn't any sense of urgent or panic, not urgency, but panic, being that it was tight to start with. You were patient, and it paid dividends as the game went on, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we felt like we were a better team, and we just had to kind of get clicking a little bit offensively or defensively, and that would pick up the other side of the ball. And one quarter isn't going to determine the outcome, of that game. So just come out, try to wake up, try to get back into the flow of a game, and definitely don't panic.
Here's our first highlight.
Now Lorenzo Brown will work under center, and that is Taylor. 2 in motion to the right slot. Back to pass Lorenzo Brown with time. Fires it down left side. Ford caught it at the 5-yard line as he got behind Lynn Williams into the end zone. Touchdown, Sioux Falls Storm. As that goes 31 yards.
And that Lorenzo Brown had a great night in passing, and for Ford, that is his 8th receiving touchdown. He leads the Storm in receiving touchdowns. It was a great play in that first quarter.
It was, yeah. It was a nice play-action pass, and Lorenzo really threw the deep ball well. I mean, he had great touch, and he put some deep throws on Kent Shelby, on Shepard, and on Damian Ford, and kind of took advantage of all the guys spreading the ball around.
And here's our next highlight.
The Storm with a first down. They have it at their own 22-yard line, 2 in motion, right slot. Back to pass, Lorenzo Brown on play action. He's going for the end zone. He's got a receiver. It's caught there. Kent Shelby all by himself. Nobody around him. He's back from a pulled hamstring. Welcome back, Kent Shelby. Touchdown, Sioux Falls Storm.
And Kent Shelby is a great receiver, isn't he?
He is, yeah. Kent is still really learning the indoor game. It goes to show you, Damian Ford's played quite a bit. Brandon Shepard even had experience, and you can see him really taking off. And Kent Shelby's the one that it's totally new to him. And so he's been the one that has kind of been learning as he goes, and then he had a hamstring set him back. But, he probably has the best physical tools of the three. He brings the size and the speed. And so it was good to see him get some success and start to build some momentum, because we're definitely going to need him in these next couple games.
For the night, Lorenzo Brown, 9 of 15, 213 yards, no interceptions, 5 passing touchdowns. He got 2 to Shelby and Ford each, and then 1 to Shepard. Here's our next highlight.
And now onto the field to try the point conversion is Levine out of the hold of Causey. The other quarterback. Here's the snap. Here's the rush. It's blocked. That's a live football picked up there by Goins. He's got a chance to get to the end zone. He's got a blocker there, Williams. And Goins takes it all the way the other way. And it's going to be a 2-point score for the Sioux Falls Storm on the blocked kick.
And I believe that Goins got credited for that block kick, but that's a defensive lineman's dream, isn't it, Coach, to pick up a loose football and carry it into the end zone?
Well, and just got a perfect bounce. It's funny, later Bismarck fumbles, and you could see all the defensive linemen trying to pick the ball up and run with it rather than just falling on it. So the ball kind of got pinballed around for a while. Really they should just fall on it. But after seeing Malcolm run back that one, they all of a sudden wanted to become running backs. He was moving. Malcolm was running, and there wasn't anyone catching him.
And he was moving right along. Great play by him on the block kick and also the run for the 2-point conversion. Storm get an interception by Rick Rump, and then to cap off our highlights, here's the last one.
Lorenzo Brown under center. He's back to pass in his own end zone, going for the home run. Looking there for Shepard. Over the shoulder catch. Goes into the end zone as he's tackled. Touchdown. Holy help me, Hannah. 45 yards. Perfect pass, catch, run, everything. Touchdown, Sioux Falls Storm.
And that was a beautiful play.
It was, yeah. It was one of those that looked like it was going to be about 5 yards too long, and Brandon just turned it on, got to it, and they kept trying to press coverage, Brandon and Kent, and so we came out back-to-back drives and just let those two run by their guys, and Lorenzo made great throws.
But the game had a couple of injuries as McCoy was injured, and also our kicker, Miles Bergner. Tell us about those injuries and how things look right now.
Well, as of right now, we don't know. Today they would go in and see the doctors, and then the doctors they'll reach out to us and let us know. I would suspect with any type of potential knee injury with Matt, they'll schedule an MRI. And with the severity of Miles' hamstring, they may do an MRI with him also. But we'll usually find out probably after the show is when I'll get a call, let me know what's the plan for Matt and Miles.
A couple of things that you talked about in the pregame show, you talked about getting pressure on the quarterback and winning on the road is important, and you accomplished, I think, both of those things in that game up in Bismarck on Saturday.
Yeah, I thought our D-line, even though their O-line is not very good, our D-line got after the quarterback, and there was times the receivers were open, but our D-line, got after the quarterback to where he never had a chance to look at the receivers. And I think, the best defensive backfields, usually it's attributed to a very good defensive line. And I thought Saturday night that was the biggest difference, is our D-line continually got after the quarterback. I thought Claude Davis had one of his better games in quite some time. And, Charles Williams always plays really hard, and it looked like Claude was very consistently getting after and winning the battles up front.
Any other comments about the win up in Bismarck, 64-31?
No, I mean, we're glad to be done traveling for a little while. I mean, it's been a pretty brutal stretch there, to where you could see the guys were exhausted, and I know they were excited to have a bye week and some time to relax a little bit.
And we'll talk about that in our final segment. Well, Coach, congratulations on the win up in Bismarck. We'll talk to you a little bit.
All right. Thanks, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. This segment brought to you by the official road game viewing party host, that is Eastway Sports Lounge. The next viewing party is on Saturday, May 4th, as the Storm travels down to Quad City in Iowa to take on the Steamwheelers. Coming up next, we'll be talking to T.J. Neal, linebacker with the Sioux Falls Storm. This is the Kurtiss Riggs Show on FM 98.1, AM 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN.
Hey guys, Bellator lightweight champion Michael Chandler here. I'm here at one of my favorite places in the entire world, the wrestling room. But if there's one thing we know about wrestling rooms, they can get extremely dirty. We're talking skin infections, we're talking about funk, we're talking about smelly armpits, we're talking about all kinds of stuff. So, my friends at Pure and Clean Sports came up with an awesome solution. Spray it right on your skin, wipe it off, smells great, keeps you clean from the time you leave the mats to the time you can get home and shower. Not only is it the greatest skin defense in the entire world, it's the safest. Check them out, pureandcleansports.com.
First Premier Bank Free Plus Checking gives you the freedom to experience life, to enjoy the things you love, and to breeze through checkout lines with free mobile wallet features. Bank anywhere you want with online account opening and instant issue debit cards. Feel the freedom of no fees, no minimum balances, and no unpleasant surprises. First Premier Bank Free Plus Checking. Apply online or at any branch location. First Premier Bank, member FDIC.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And our player interview is brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. Then when we go to break, we'll take the third call. We get from you for 4 free tickets for that game coming up on April 20th when the Storm hosts the Iowa Barnstormers, all courtesy of Lewis Pharmacies. He is a linebacker with the Sioux Falls Storm in his first year of indoor football. Please welcome T.J. Neal. T.J., great to have you on the Kurtiss Riggs Show.
I'm glad to be here. It's an honor.
Well, I want to find a little bit about your background to let the folks know about kind of where you grew up and things like that. Could you tell us about that?
Well, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I grew up in a small town called McKeesport. I went to school at the University of Illinois. And I finished up my senior year at Auburn University. Been playing linebacker all my life. You know, I enjoyed playing football a lot.
Now, you were named to the All-Big Ten team in 2015, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
That had to be a great thrill to be get an accolade like that at that level, especially, you know, the Big Ten. That's really big time.
Yes, you know, with all the work and all the dedication I put into the game of football to get the result and then acknowledged, it was a great deal.
Now, tell us a little bit about how you wound up coming to Sioux Falls, South Dakota to join the Sioux Falls Storm.
Well, you know, one day I was just chilling, and I got a phone call. I got a text message from Jose, who's the scout. He's the director of the scouting for Sioux Falls Storm.
Uh-huh.
So he asked me, do I still have interest in playing football? And I'm like, yes, you know, I would love to play again if the opportunity comes. So he said, how about playing indoor football for the Sioux Falls Storm? So I was a little hesitant at first. I'm like, you know, that's very far. That's in South Dakota. And so then Coach Riggs gave me a call the following day, and I spoke with him. Then I talked to my mother about it and my sister, and they was all for, you know, you need to go out there and play and continue to chase your dream. And make amends with football and go have fun while you out there.
Well, I tell you what, you've have to be a scrapper your whole life because you're the only boy out of 8 kids, aren't you?
Yes. My father ain't have no luck with making another T.J. Neal.
So that kind of sets you up to be a linebacker because you're always blitzing either to get out away from something or get after something, having
Correct.
7 sisters. Now, you came here to the Sioux Falls to be a part of the Sioux Falls Storm. That was the first time that you'd ever been around indoor football, wasn't it?
Yes.
And, it was a little bit different for you, like it is for everybody. What have you learned over these weeks that you have been a part of the team that you didn't know when you came here about how to play football on the indoors?
Well, the game is very quick with, the field being very confined. So your decision making, you have to make a decision now. And your footwork is kind of different because the carpet is different from playing on a football field. So you have to be very decisive with your decision making on, when you get your reads and to go make a play. So that's the biggest thing for me is being more reactive than when you're in outdoor football.
Well, for the season, you're the number 2 tackler with the Storm. You have 29 tackles. You have 2.5 tackles for loss. You have a broken pass. And during the Bismarck game, you had 5.5 tackles and a half a sack. And here's how that sack went.
And now Gibbs back to pass. No, he's not going to get away from Claude Davis and also T.J. Neal.
And, I talked a little bit more about it, kind of abbreviated that call, but that was a great sack at a great time of the game. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was anxious for so I'm coming in better shape. I got to get a sack, guys. I was telling the guys prior to going into the game.
Well, you're breaking up a little bit, TJ. Maybe just hold the phone a little bit farther away. That might help. Oh, evidently we lost T.J. Neal. Well, anyway, T.J., what a great guy. And I had a chance to talk to him. T.J., you there? No. I had a chance to talk to him down to Nebraska one time. A great young man. He reads lots of books, keeps a journal. And he, every day he writes in his journal about something that he learned that day because he's always wanting to get better. And really had a great conversation with him. He wears number 31. He's 6 foot, 240-pound linebacker for the Sioux Falls Storm. We're going to try to get in touch with him again and see if we can finish out the interview. But T.J. Neal just lost connection. We got it back, however. And sorry about that. We somehow lost connection, T.J. But I was telling the folks about how you keep a journal and how you always are looking to improve yourself. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I feel like, you have one life to live. And you got a chance to become the very best version of yourself, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, in all aspects of living. And I think it's important that you take, time out of your day to read or do something that's going to better yourself in them aspects. And I want to become a well-rounded individual, a better father, a better friend, a brother, a son, a future husband to be. So I take the time to mold and groom myself into the person I want to be.
Well, that's fantastic. And, TJ, I really appreciate you being on the Kurtiss Riggs Show, and keep up the great work that you're doing on the team. And also keep reading and writing in that journal because you're always getting better, and I can tell that.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me.
T.J. Neal with the Sioux Falls Storm, linebacker. And when we go to break, we'll take your third call at 336-1230. 4 free tickets for that game coming up on April 20th against the Barnstormers. And that's courtesy of Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, get better. We'll be back right after this.
The Rosties wanted their new house to be unique, so they went back to Fireplace Pros. The upstairs is traditional, but the downstairs is very modern. They are delighted.
We wanted a different look and feel within our house, and Fireplace Pros, as always, helped us make it happen. They're the best.
Visit us on the web or stop by your nearest Heat and Glow or Heatilator dealer. Fireplace Pros, Heat and Glow, and Heatilator. You're going to love the way your home feels.
Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And this segment brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. And when we go to break, we'll have 4 free tickets for that game coming up on April 20th when the Storm hosts the Iowa Barnstormers. That's courtesy of Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. He is running back, a new one this year with the Sioux Falls Storm, Kalen Campbell. Kalen, thanks for being on the Kurtiss Riggs Show.
Happy to be here, Rich. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and it's been fun watching you play football and the speed that you have. It's really been fun to watch you, especially around the corner.
Praise God, man. I just got great teammates that want to get me out there in space and let me work. And it's just a blessing to be here, and, hard work paying off.
You're number 27. You're 5'8", 185, but you play bigger than that, especially when that blitzing linebacker is coming at you. That's something new that you had to have learned this year when you came with the Storm. Tell us what it's been like to try to catch those big boys coming at you.
Oh, yeah, most definitely, especially in the off season, I've definitely tried to kind of bulk up a little bit. Me being a little bit on the smaller side, I've always had to try to play big. So that's something that I've always kind of, an adage that I've kind of had in the off season, kind of bulking up a little bit, and to be able to take on those bigger linebackers. And also, I'm still learning about different techniques that I could use to be able to get those linebackers. The coaches tell me, Kalen, you don't have to get them up top all the time. You could chop their legs. So I need to throw that in the repertoire a little bit too. So
now, tell me, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Hoover, Alabama. It's right outside of Birmingham.
Okay. And then you wound up playing for a coach that has great ties back here to Sioux Falls. Coach Jed Stugart was at the University of Sioux Falls. Then he went to Lindenwood University down at St. Louis, in that St. Louis area, and you wound up playing for him. How did you wind up going from Alabama up to St. Louis, Missouri?
Well, just how God works everything out. I was originally at Jacksonville State for 2 years, FCS school down in Jacksonville, Alabama for 2 years. And then stuff wasn't working out there, and I was able to transfer out to Lindenwood. I played under Coach Patrick Ross for 2 years. He originally recruited me out of high school, and but things didn't work out to be able to go to Lindenwood right out of high school. So I played 2 years at Jacksonville State, and then stuff worked out where I was able to transfer up to Lindenwood in 2015, and then I played there 2015, 2016, and finished up in 2017 on my last year and played for the man himself, Jed Stugart. Great man.
Oh, he is a great man. He had a great success here at Sioux Falls and took on a lot of issues down there at Lindenwood, and he is working to put his stamp on it and to make that university football team stand out, isn't he?
Yes, absolutely. He is just instilling culture. Culture was something that was big that he was preaching when he first came in, and guys, even more guys when he came in bought into that, and he's just stepping it up as the years go by, and it's been an honor, and I'm just so glad to be able to see it. I wish I could have been a part of it. I only got him for 1 year, but things work out how they work out. But I'm so happy for him, and I wish him nothing but success going forward.
We're talking with Kalen Campbell, running back with the Sioux Falls Storm. Up in Bismarck, you had 16 carries, 110 yards. You had a long of 33, had 4 rushing touchdowns, including this highlight.
1st and 10, Kalen Campbell really showing his speed and ability to the Sioux Falls Storm in the last couple ball games. Now through the boxes forward. Handoff goes to Campbell again. Breaks an arm tackle, weaves right. Now he goes left, got some room. 25-20, 15-10, 5 into the end zone. Yes, touchdown. Sioux Falls Storm, Kalen Campbell.
And it was 33 yards. You had 4 rushing touchdowns in that game. In the 3 games you have played, you had 123 carries, or you had 23 carries. You had 143 yards, and just outstanding ability. And, when I talk to players about the transition from college to indoor football, for a running back, is it a benefit for you that the field is smaller, or is that a detriment to you as a running back?
I definitely see it as something that can be can add to my value. I know some people look at it as a detriment, but the way I see it is a smaller field, it makes you have to make quicker decisions, where, you know, things are coming at you way faster than they are on a regular field. And of course, making a move is different in the indoor than on the outdoor. You're making that move even quicker. So especially making that transition back to outdoor, that'll definitely help you. I think as a running back, it's all about how you look at it.
Well, one thing about it, usually in indoor football, the less of a move and more straight ahead that you can be, the more successful you'll be, because they're closing in on you pretty quick, aren't they?
Absolutely. Guys flying everywhere. It's fun. It's definitely fun. It's definitely fun to play.
Now, you wrote on your resume or your questionnaire that I handed out that you really like to listen to old soul and rhythm and blues music. Tell us about that. Oh,
yeah, man. A lot of people, especially at Lindenwood, you know, people will call me Uncle Kalen. A lot of those guys call me Uncle Kalen just because of I have more of an old soul. You know, just in college, I really started to really listen to a lot of that old soul music, and I just gravitated to it. And it's just something like that. That's one of my pregame routines. Really, a day before the game, I'm listening to strictly old school soul, rhythm and blues, because it just gives you this feeling, you know, you really can't explain it. And it's just soothing, you know. They don't make music like that anymore, Rich, you know.
That's right. That's exactly right. Well, Kalen, thanks for being on the Kurtiss Riggs Show, and thanks for being a part of this football team and franchise. You have made great contributions to it in this short amount of time, and I wish you nothing but the best the rest of the season.
Thank you, Rich. God bless, man.
Thank you so much. God bless you, too. Kalen Campbell, running back with the Sioux Falls Storm. Great guy. And when we go to break, we'll take your third call, 336-1230, 4 free tickets for the game coming up on the 20th of April, brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. We'll be back right after this.
Your body is a complex arrangement of bone and tissue that requires only the best to maintain it. At Orthopedic Institute, that's our specialty. Our services have been specifically tailored to provide the best orthopedic care in the region. Orthopedics is what we do. That's why Orthopedic Institute is the one to trust to keep your body in motion.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And our game preview and talking about bye weeks and things like that with the head coach of the Storm, Kurtiss Riggs, is brought to you by the great folks over at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. 917 South Cliff Avenue, working to further enhance deliveries in Sioux Falls by supplementing their delivery staff with a third-party delivery company so you get your subs baked fresh, sliced fresh, and delivered fresh. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs, man, that's good. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Bye week, good timing for it or not?
Great time. Yeah, great time, Rich, especially with, you know, the travel that we dealt with. You know, it was good that we played a game after Arizona. You don't want to go into the bye week after a loss. But, you know, the combination of the trip coming home from Arizona, the road trip to Bismarck, it's a great time for a bye week.
So what do the guys do on a bye week like this? They stick around, they head home, or what do they do?
Some. You know, our roster, though, is a lot of guys' home is really far away. And so some just choose that, you know, to fly home, fly back. It costs too much. It takes up too much time. So they're just going to train. Some of the guys will just train and work out, you know, just be involved in the community and work a part-time job possibly. But most do go home, at least for a little while. just try to get away, see family, and then they just come back refreshed, ready to go.
It's also a good time for injuries to heal up a little bit, do some rehab and things like that, and also for you as a coach maybe to be looking for other people. Tell us about that.
It is, and we've got some great, besides the Orthopedic Institute, Ryan Brink and then Dr. Luby and the staff, they're tremendous with taking care of the guys. But Crowd Sport, has been great with taking care of the guys. Chris Mickelson and his staff there have been really good with chiropractic service. And then CryoRev is something the guys take great advantage of with helping muscle tissue repair. And they've taken great advantage of that this year. And I'm sure the guys will be visiting there quite a bit over the bye week.
Now, other than being, for you, cramped up, traveling and things like that, what kind of rehab are you going to do during this week off, or what are other plans might you have?
Well, the first thing I'm kind of doing is the second part of what you asked earlier. Right now, trying to, sign players, and so we just signed a linebacker from Louisiana State, LSU, Donnie Alexander, who was a tremendous talent at Louisiana, played 4 years there, and so we're hoping for his athleticism and his SEC experience to be able to come in and help us and battle with TJ at the linebacker spot. I think we'll see a few more signings coming up here as we kind of try to build that roster for a tough stretch. And then after that, then I'm going to fly out to Indiana and see the Indiana spring game, see Coach DeBoer, and how he's transitioned from California to Indiana and that lifestyle difference. And then I'm going to be able to fly back to Omaha and see my daughter in a dance competition on the weekend.
Well, you tell Kalen DeBoer how proud we are of him back here, of what he's accomplished, where he's gone to, and we wish him nothing but the very best as a Hoosier.
I will, definitely. Yeah, I know he always hopes and dreams about getting back in this area. It's crazy how the coaching realm has moved him all over the place, but he's doing really well, though.
Well, one thing about it, every step he's made has been vertical. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and his salary would say the same thing there. But
he earns it. Believe me, when you're at that level, you earn it.
That's for sure. There's very few down hours, and we talk frequently, but it's usually when he's going from a recruit's house to another recruit's house, or from a meeting to another meeting, or to practice, or something like that. So he's definitely on the go all the time.
Well, Coach, enjoy your week off, and we'll talk to you before the game. Well, actually, we'll talk on the Kurtiss Riggs Show next Monday, and then we'll talk to you before that Iowa Barnstormer game coming up on the 20th.
Well, I look forward to it, Rich, and you enjoy the bye week and try to maybe stay out of this nasty storm it sounds like we're going to get here.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. One thing about it, this part of the country, you can have all four of the seasons in 1 week.
Yeah, our players are struggling to understand that. They just, they can't grasp how it could be snowing and then the sun shining, and so they're like, it's like there's schizophrenic weather here. They just, but I promised them it will get nice and stay nice here as the summer approaches.
No doubt about it. Coach, thanks a lot. Enjoy the week off.
All right, thanks, Rich.
And this segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs, baked fresh, sliced fresh, and delivered fresh. That's Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Man, that's good. Coming up next, our final segment of the Kurtiss Riggs Show. We'll be back right after this.
On the average day, the Winklers are a splendid little family. But today is not your average day. It all started when little Susie went in for her first bite of cereal. Dad went to investigate, but had issues of his own along the way. That's when it became blatantly clear the furnace was broken, and it was time to call the service guys. Waterbury, we are service.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And welcome back for our final segment of the Kurtiss Riggs Show. Don't forget, after we go off the air, we'll take your third call, 336-1230, 4 free tickets for that April 20th game against Iowa Barnstormers, all courtesy of Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. The Storm, again, has a bye this week, but we'll return on the 20th for the Iowa Barnstormers game. We will have a Kurtiss Riggs Show next Monday, and the Kurtiss Riggs Show is proudly presented each week by the official Storm sports medicine providers, Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls, and also by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. I want to thank head coach Kurtiss Riggs, and also our guests, T.J. Neal and Kalen Campbell, for being on the show. Don't forget, folks, coming up on April 20th is the Faith and Family Night, sponsored by Schulte Subaru. On the 27th is the annual Stormtroopers Kids Football Camp. And then the big fundraiser on April 27th for the Sioux Falls School District. That is sponsored by Sioux Falls Federal Credit Union. And that's a great way to help out the school districts in the city. Help them with field trips and books. They also have a book thing going on with the Amazon wish list that people can buy books and give them away. And you can purchase coffee and mugs from Sioux Falls Federal Credit Union and tickets to the game. And half the proceeds of those tickets will be donated. Hey, join us. This is the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on KWSN.